Entertain a motion to reconvene open session of the Board of Education.
I make the motion.
Mr. Lewis, second. Second. Mr. Stevenson. Those in favor of reconvening open session? 6-0. If you would all please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. We have 4 people signed up to speak, and 3 of them are about nepotism. According to our policy, if we have more than 2, it's best if we get 1 spokesperson for the 3 of you, and you do 5 minutes instead of the 3, because we're limited to 15 minutes. So, would the 3 of you like to?
They can choose.
Okay. So, first is, well, let me read what I'm supposed to read here.
Can we suspend that just to hear a short version for each of them? I'm asking.
I would rather not suspend the policy.
Okay.
So, you'll be allowed 3 minutes to address the board. Please limit your comments to topics that are appropriate to bring before the board. The board president may interrupt you if your comments stray into an area that should not be discussed in open session. The Missouri Sunshine Law limits the ability of the board members to respond to your comments. Consequently, it is unlikely that the board will engage in a discussion of your topic during this meeting. So, first of all, Mary Stevenson.
To the board members of the Hillsboro School Board, thank you very much for requesting thoughts and opinions from our community regarding nepotism. I feel this issue has 2 sides, if you will. First is the issue of administration hiring faculty. Second is the issue of school board members hiring or voting to hire family members. I'd like to address the first side, which is administrators hiring faculty members. This is my opinion, as per requested in last month's meeting. Not specifically me, but in general. I find this administrators hiring family members to be a conflict of interest. I do not think that the nepotism policy regarding the hiring of superintendent's family needed to be changed last summer. That policy was in place for a number of years. It is common for districts to have policies similar to that, and in fact, many districts have far stricter policies than what we previously had in place. Many other districts have a policy that's stricter and includes building principals as well as their superintendents. I firmly believe that our nepotism policy should be reinstated. The definition of nepotism, according to Webster's dictionary, is favoritism as an appointment to a job based on kinship. So let's just let that settle in for a minute and think about some of the decisions that were made here last summer. Next, I'd like to address the issue of school board members and faculty members who are family. I don't believe that a board member should resign a position if they have a family member who is trying to gain employment in our district. Protocol is in place so that board members can withhold votes and participation from discussion should a family member be involved. I would like the world to know that I have been gainfully employed by this district for 10 years, and the Hillsboro community elected my husband. These 2 circumstances have no connection. In the same respect, Mr. Lewis's sister-in-law, Mr. Stewart's sister-in-law, Mrs. Welker's daughter, and Mrs. Petrie's daughters all were employed before you all became elected. Nearly all of you have family who work in our district, and our community elected you because we believe in you, and we believe in the job that you will do for our community and for our children. If we lose faith in you and in the job that you're doing here tonight, then we might not re-elect you in the future. I can't speak for all of Hillsboro, but I know I speak for myself and for my family, because most importantly, our children are counting on each and every one of you, and they're counting on me, which is why I'm speaking here tonight. I understand your policies this is a lot to cut, but if you ask for the community's input, you might want to consider altering it for one evening, just my opinion.
And I will note on that, and I should have said it before, but if you look at agenda item number 1 under new business, we're going to talk about having a public hearing so that we can
I think
get
that's a great idea.
input from
I
all
love
of the
that
community.
action. Because I would love for more people besides me to come and address all of you. Apparently this is becoming a new thing for me. Thank you very much.
Mr. Darcy.
Is there any rule that says I have to sit because I prefer to stand? Okay.
That's fine.
I would like to thank the board for allowing me to speak tonight regarding the Hillsboro R3's nepotism policy. And I would like to commend Board Member Beth Petrie for having the courage to suggest strengthening this policy. I strongly urge the board to strengthen the existing policy to at least the original intent of the policy that was recently changed. Nepotism has no place in publicly funded institutions such as the Hillsboro R3 School District. And although some would have you believe otherwise, a school district may make its nepotism policy as restrictive as it chooses. This is not deemed discriminatory and cannot lead to a litigious nightmare, as you have been told. As school board members, the citizens of this community have entrusted you to provide the best education possible for their children and grandchildren. They did not elect you to create or provide some of the highest paying jobs in the community to relatives of board members or the relatives of school administrators. For several years, the district operated under a nepotism policy for board members and the superintendent that ensured that this situation did not develop. When nepotism occurs in a district, it leads to mistrust and a lack of faith in the board members and district administrators. It also does not guarantee the selection of the best possible candidates to serve our children. Unless the current policy is revised and returned to the intent of the original policy, the district will never be in a position to regain the faith and trust of the community. And I request that my statement be entered into the minutes of this meeting and become a part of the official record of the board meeting. Thank you.
Thank you. Next we have Tom Frasca. Did I pronounce that right, sir?
Yes, sir.
Regarding public relations.
Right. Hey, what I just noticed tonight, could it be possible to put a sign on that door when you're in closed session?
Oh.
Open, close. I mean, I almost crashed your meeting. Something, you know, I noticed. Number two, sometime this board or future boards going to have to go see the public or tax increase, bond issue, etc. What I've never even seen from this district is what it costs to operate it. I don't know what the cost of the bus is. I don't know how much fuel it uses a year. I don't know what electric bill is here in January or July. I think you guys need to sell yourselves. You know, I have no idea what it costs to run this place. And I think maybe the job for the superintendent is to sell the district. And maybe you want to point them that way and do that. Which leads to my third thing with public. Upper management nepotism is wrong. Plain and simple. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. All right, next we have action items by consent. I'll consider a motion to approve the consent agenda items. Mr. Stevenson, second, Mrs. Welker. All those in favor of approving the consent agenda items? 6-0, thank you. All right, next we have our reports. Dr. Kornman.
All right, I know we have a really long agenda this evening, so I'll keep it short. Just a couple of updates to the updates. I sent you home this past week. school resource officer. On Wednesday, we will be interviewing 2 candidates for the position of school resource officer that are being submitted to us by the Jefferson County Sheriff's Department, and they will have the liaison present. So hopefully we'll be able to get that resolved here shortly. The primary sealant project is ready to move forward. Ray, that's the 28th, 6th. They're going to start the 26th on that project of June.
Right.
26th of June to get that done. Let's see. Also wanted to point your attention to, if you scroll on down, the Columbia School Board's weighing the option of changing their non-discrimination policy to include gender identity and gender expression. It's something you might want to read and stay abreast of. Also offered to you from the Columbia Tribune, the Highway Patrol approving 88% of school buses and fleets on the road. And I know that we have that coming up just here shortly, I think, don't we?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Next
we're going to
month.
talk about the fleet inspection. So I wanted to kind of throw that in there for you to read as well. But other than that, that's all I have for you this evening.
I think you didn't mention how the attorney fees have went down since you took over.
Well, yeah, the attorney fees have gone down since I've taken over.
Very nice.
Yes.
Quite a bit.
Was that because I asked that question?
Yes, ma'am. But I wanted to provide information when asked for, so yes, there it is.
When I read that, I thought that was directed at me.
That was directed to the public that wants to know.
Okay. Next, our fleet inspection. Mr. Martin.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Back on March 17th, 2015, we had our annual Highway Patrol DOT bus inspection. And again, this year, as the snow days pile up, we were not able to have it we had to have it on a day that school was in session. And luckily this year it was not on an early out day like last year. But, anyway, we got through it, had a real good inspection in my opinion. We did have some smaller items that on the first time through that were rejected, and nothing major. The only actual major issue, the biggest major issue of the day, was an O-ring in a brake booster that, after abuse by the driver instructed by me to inflict on this, because Highway Patrol inspector saying there's a leak there somewhere. And I told one of our drivers, Matt, I said, well, Matt, he's saying there's a leak there, we're going to find it. We're just going to keep pushing. There's an older bus. Finally, we made the thing leak enough to, wow, okay, there's a leak, we can fix it now. So anyway, I mean, I'm being kind of sarcastic there. But there was no way to make the leak come out but other than kind of abuse it there. But at the end of the day, we had 100% to pass through for the day. What that means is at by 1:30, every one of the buses on our lot was 100% safe, ready to hit the road with not one minor issue.
Great.
And I'd like to thank all the staff and drivers, mechanics, everybody involved, administration, for a good bus inspection.
Absolutely.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you, Ron.
All right. Next, we have our outside facility usage report. Ms. Marino.
Yes, sir. The outside facility usage report is there for the board to look over. It was requested in 2011 for basically a semi-annual update as far as outside usage, which groups, things like that. All that information is combined right there. If you have any questions, please let me know. Just so you are aware, there are 2 groups on there right now marked as not paid. There have been payments come in since this has been put together to shore up their accounts.
So can I ask a question? Okay, That's, it says Persimmon Point and Drawbridge, is that one of them? I don't even know what that is.
That one has not been yet, it's been built. It was a homeowners association that had a homeowners association meeting in the high school commons.
Okay, so they got a bill, but they haven't paid it.
Correct.
The other question I had, the Christmas dinner that we had questions about last December, it wasn't listed on here.
It is not listed on there. I don't know, I don't have any paperwork for that. However, I can tell you that the payment has been deposited into the facilities usage account because I've seen it.
Okay, because,
But I have not seen the paperwork.
I think we had that at the meeting,
I think it was at the meeting.
what meeting?
at the board meeting, because we talked about it at the board meeting.
But it
I know
is,
we talked about it at the board meeting.
But I
and
think we had the
gave
paperwork at
money,
that board meeting.
but it wasn't listed on here as the facility use,
it
and I
is
just
100%
was
clean
questioned.
and done. And then the checks, actually, what happened was the chamber mailed the check directly to central office, I believe, and then it got put into the facility usage account.
Okay. And the other question that I had, I saw signs around for music in the parks, or in parks. Is that an outside group? Is that?
No, Music in the Parks is a fundraiser that the band and the choirs do, where basically we provide a host site for school districts from all over the United States. Literally, in Indiana, Illinois, there was a school from Wisconsin, it might have been a New York school that came down. I
I
can't
see them. I saw Indiana.
But they basically what it does is we volunteer our service. Music and band run that together, our
Okay,
facility.
so they're the host
And music and band is the one that
school
benefit that.
activity. That's good.
Miss Finch used it to pay for the Florida trip that the kids just went on swing plan. So we just provide the facility.
So that's why it doesn't show up on here, because
Correct.
it's a school.
Because it's a school-sponsored
Okay.
group type deal.
Okay.
Any other questions for Mr.
If I
Marino?
hadn't been gone, I would have called and asked those questions.
Anytime.
I've been gone.
Thank you, Ms. Marino.
You're welcome. Thank you guys.
Thank you. All right, moving on down the line, unfinished business, we have none at this time. Oh, I'm sorry, Beth, I'm sorry.
See, he's
I was just thinking of that
all my
2
questions.
seconds ago there, but you were just talking with Ms. Marino and it
I
was...
told you I was going to make this real
Yep.
short.
Yeah, MSBA conference report,
Yes,
Mrs. Petrie.
I went
I'm
to
sorry.
the MSBA Leadership Conference this last weekend, and I'm a strong believer that professional development goes to school boards as well. An educated school board is an effective school board. And I attended a couple of very important sessions. One dealt with MSBA services. One is advocacy, so often we get those emails that there are issues that it would be nice for us to forward an email to our senators. You know, again, that's pretty important. They address legal services, and you know, every time that I've had a legal question, I've shot off an email to Scott Summers, Kelly Hopkins, the MSBA lawyers. And within, sometimes within just a couple of hours, within 24 hours, I get a response. And I didn't know this, but that is available to superintendents, so I'm assuming you knew that too. Okay. What?
Susan Goldammer's probably, and Kelly are the two I use.
Yeah. Communication has been a concern here, and one of the things that several districts have done, have actually gone to apps to reach their parents instead of just simply a website. Of course, I'm not of that generation, but you know, lots of success. The other thing that caught my attention was a PBIS session that last month, I believe it was Karen Hoover and Liz Rawls, touted the successes of that in the primary building. And I didn't ask this last month, but I wondered, you know, why don't we go ahead and use that in the other elementary schools? And because there were many, many schools that had things that said, you know, those same things occur at the higher elementary levels and even is used at the high school level. So possibly administrators might want to look into that. And our region has 100% membership of schools in our region. Short, sweet, to the point.
Thank you. Nice. Thank you. All right, now moving on. No unfinished business, so first item of new business is discussion of a date for a public hearing for nepotism policy. I know, talking with Doc, I asked him to put this on here because I know last year there was a lot of concern with the nepotism policy change, and thought if you know, and last month we talked about getting a range of, you know, whatever policies there are out there in the state and see what different schools are doing, and we have some of those which we'll be discussing. But I thought it would be best too to get as much input as we have time for whenever we set it, to let people speak their mind for longer than, I guess, 3 minutes at a time. And so, so we need to look at it at a time. Anybody have any? Let me get my calendar out. Anybody have
So you're
any?
thinking of doing this in short order, like the early part of July?
Well, I
before
think
we adopt this in September.
well, there's
I'm
two different
asking.
issues here. We've got the final reading of our current policy, which we have to have done and submitted to the state by September.
That's what it said.
No, tonight's the final.
Well, that's what it says, but last month was the first time
Was
that
it?
we talked about it.
Okay. Anyway,
So
I know
should
this.
be, but anyway.
We've got to, yeah, because no, it's final reading. Because we have to have that into the state by September.
September.
And as we talked about last time, we wouldn't be able to do the revision because we're going to have to, if we do a nepotism adjustment to our policies, we have to, there's those other policies that were in conflict
Right.
last year, which was one of the.
JCD and JPC.
Right, so we've got to address those at the same time. So, I would rather do it sooner rather than later as far as a public time, but I also want to give enough notice that we can have, you know, anybody that can be here can schedule, you know, if they're a second shift worker, but it means that much to them, they can have time to schedule and get here. So I want to make it soon, but I don't want to make it, you know, tomorrow.
Oh, no. No.
Exactly. So, and keep it in mind that it's summer too, and some folks have vacation
And before
schedules and plans, and we got a holiday coming up. So, in light of that, I'm thinking it would probably be best to do it after the 4th of July holiday.
July 6th.
The 13th through the 17th.
I'm thinking that week of the 13th through 7th, because
That'd be
some
another
people
whole-
add that.
Week before our next meeting as well.
So, what does the 13th through the 17th look like for?
16.
I can't do the 16th or the 17th. I'll be in school.
Football hadn't started yet. 15th looks good. The 15th looks good.
I'm good on the 15th is a Wednesday.
Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday that week. What Wednesday? Is Wednesday the best for you?
That works for, I mean, I didn't have to write what day it was, so I'm sorry.
Well, Lisa's gone the 16th and 17th, which is
Right.
Thursday and Friday. So let's look at Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday.
You know.
My schedule appears to be wide open Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. So 13th, any preference Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday? 15th, maybe? Wednesday the 15th? Any objections? What time, you want to do a 7 o'clock?
This is just us listening, correct?
Right.
Okay.
It's being here for folks to comment.
So folks, is 7 o'clock good?
That's good.
Administrators,
I can't do that.
7 o'clock good? Okay, we'll
I'm at
ask
a
you
conference,
if
just me.
7 o'clock is good.
No, 7 o'clock is great.
Okay,
I'm
okay.
at a conference.
So July 15th at 7? Okay.
7 o'clock on the 15th.
And what about advertising this more so than,
You can get it up on the website.
Got it in 5 minutes.
information call? Huh? A robocall?
We could do that.
Like initially, like maybe a couple of weeks before, and then a reminder on Monday?
Mr. Murray,
7 o'clock on the 15th.
we'll do an all call for that.
All right, so we have scheduled 7 p.m. on Wednesday, July the 15th. Right here, you think the room's big enough, or should we?
It is summer.
There's the
We
question.
only had how many tonight?
Okay, we'll do it here.
How far is it to move? Is it big enough?
We moved to the gym.
Keep that as an option.
Yep.
We did 7 o'clock.
7 o'clock.
So we did 7 o'clock.
You went?
7 o'clock.
Oh, the Civic Club. I thought you said.
The auditorium.
All right. 7 o'clock on Wednesday, July the 15th, right here.
And those who talk can talk again.
Thank you. Okay, moving on. We have the list of bills for payment in total $355,266.40. Do I have a motion to approve the bills in that amount as presented? Mr. McCarthy. Second, Mr. Lewis. Is there any discussion on payment of the bills? Hearing none, raise your hand for those in favor of approving the bills for payment. 6-0. Thank you. Let me finish getting this saved, or I'm going to move it. Okay. Fantastic. End of year budget adjustments and transfer resolution. You have that in your packet there, and I get a motion to authorize the CFO to proceed with making annual adjusting entries as needed, and resolve to authorize fund transfers as detailed in the information received.
So moved.
Mrs. Petrie, second. Mrs. Welker. Any discussion on those? Hearing none. Those in favor of authorizing the CFO to proceed with making the annual adjusting entries as needed and the resolve to authorize fund transfers as detailed. 6-0. Thank you. Okay, next we have the approval of the preliminary budget. And you all received your budget package. Do I have a motion to approve the 2015-16 preliminary budget as presented?
So moved. So we can discuss it. So moved.
Mrs. Petrie first, Mr. Stevenson second. Discussion. Did you have a question, Lisa?
I was trying to go through things, looking and comparing to last year versus this year, and had, some more time to continue looking at it as well. So if we have questions or there are concerns, are we going to be able to make adjustments or changes?
This is, and correct me if I'm wrong, Kelly or Doc, this is the preliminary budget. There will be a final budget that will come to us September-ish.
Yeah, because we have to get the tax levy approved.
September.
And so that we'll have final adjustments with, because we haven't finished MOUs
Okay.
and all that, so all that will then go in to the final.
So as I have questions about particular things, should I just meet
I
one-on-one?
think that
Okay.
perfect. You're directing with Doc and he'll fill in.
Okay. Because I highlighted a few things that I didn't know what they were or why they were a certain way, and so I wanted to
Sounds good.
discuss them.
Mr. Stevenson?
Just one question off the top, and then I'm bringing up all the same after this. But just one of the first things I saw that jumped out at me, medical insurance reduction. I thought it was 5.1% reduction. For some reason, that number was sticking in my head. We got 4.5 a year. I thought you
Medical
said
insurance reduction,
I
we
thought
have
it was 5.1.
4.5.
Average of 4.5.
Okay. Okay, 5.1 was sticking in my head when it originally was discussed, so.
We'll look at
And I
that.
probably just put the wrong percentage in there.
Okay.
Okay.
But I figured my numbers based on the numbers that they gave us. Number of people.
Okay, and I had several questions too, but if it's okay, I'll just email them like I did the handbook, and then you can disperse them to whoever.
All right.
But one of the questions I did want to ask, the money for summer school, I realized when will it show up? Does it not show up until next spring,
Well, the ADA from summer
Right.
school will help in our calculation for the funding formula the
That
money
will
we start getting.
affect this?
Right.
Okay.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
But we don't have the ADA yet.
Right, which I knew that, but I didn't know.
So it's a guess, I mean,
It's not one lump
my
sum.
guess is based on what, Jana had presented and the estimated ADA number. And we get that all year long.
Okay.
We've done well.
Okay.
Attendance is good.
But I'll have that better number once we
Okay.
get that summer school number.
Because I knew it was coming. Then a general question is, I was kind of looking through this. There were lots of membership fees. And my question that came up, are these fees like as a teacher, I paid my MSTA or NEA dues? Are these membership fees? There were a lot of them listed on page 14. And for every building. And they weren't necessarily the same level. Like for instance, at first I thought, okay, it's administrative, and primary building had 2 under expenditures. I'm thinking.
Those are based on, the building level is based on what was turned in when we did our site-based budget. And those are normally, what I see are memberships, the principal's organization, so that they can go to those conferences and get that information.
Well, and that was, I was thinking, okay, primary was 610, and that's 2 administrators. And then elementary, 2 administrators was 1,100. And then we jump up to high school, which I thought, okay, that's 5 administrators, and there was 4,000. So I was just questioning, are those dues kind of the same as MSTA/NEA dues that teachers pay? I don't know. You guys are the administrators. Tell me.
Well, those are our professional organizations that we need to be a part of so that we can go lobby for different things for school districts. But we're not afforded the same types of protections and things that the organizations for teachers give. So for us, it's more of an organization that we belong to, like MSBA, things like that.
Like MSBA
Yeah.
versus teacher MSTA.
Would that be fair? Yeah.
One of ours is the ASCD, which is a curriculum, so they send a lot of professional development that
Okay.
we need and put in our staff, hot topic of the week to keep us all, current.
Okay. Because I was equating it to a teacher. Okay, I'm going to ask.
Okay.
Except the ones I'll email.
Any other discussion on the preliminary budget? Okay, we have first and second.
So we send them to you or to God?
You can send them to me.
I stopped doing that 10 years ago. There you go.
Okay.
So I have a first and a second to approve the 2015-16 preliminary budget as presented. Those in favor, raise your hand, please. 6-0. Thank you very much. All right, next I have, I entertain a motion to pay the bills through June the 30th. I'll entertain a motion to authorize the business office to make necessary payments through June 30th, 2015. Mrs. Petrie, second. Mr. McCarthy, discussion on paying the bills through the end of June. No discussion, and we'll get that listing at the next meeting. Okay, very good. Those in favor of authorizing the business office to make the necessary payments through the June 30th, 2015, raise your hand, please. 6-0, thank you. Okay, next we have the approval of the 2015-16 state competitions. Do I have a motion to approve potential competitive opportunities for our state qualifying students and teams, including supervision and overnight travel and stay throughout the 2015-16 school year?
moved.
Mrs. Petrie first.
Second.
Mr. Lewis second. Discussion.
Just a general question. It said a maximum of 2 high school administrators on top of the coaches, et cetera, that go as sponsors.
Yes.
Yes. Is that
That's what.
what happens? Who's saying? Okay.
Yes,
That-
typically, Ms. Petrie, what happens is if we qualify for state competition, we'll use wrestling as an example. Wrestling is a 4-day event, typically 2 administrators will attend that as well. It's normal things that happen throughout other school districts. That was put in there when we started writing these about 3 years ago, because we just wanted to put in there that we would have up to 2 administrators, not 5 administrators, not 10 administrators. We could have up to 2 would be attending the state competitions as well.
So does that have anything to do with gender, like male, female, or just simply?
It
does,
definitely
okay.
can. Plus, just to have someone on site in case something.
Well,
goes
yes,
wrong.
I agree.
This past winter with wrestling, we ran into an ice storm, where we had to make some decisions with our kids and how we're going to transport them to and from the arena. With track, we do have male and female, but it can influence that, absolutely.
I was just curious. Okay. Keep going.
Other discussion on state competitions for next year? Hearing none. We have a motion and a second to approve potential competitive opportunities for our state qualifying students and teams, including supervision for overnight travel and stay throughout the 2015-16 school year. Those in favor, please raise your hand. 6-0, thank you. All right, next we have the 15-16 team camps. Do I have a motion to approve the high school students attending team camps during the summer that require overnight travel and stay throughout the state of Missouri from July 2015 through June of 2016?
So moved.
Mrs. Petrie, is there a second? Mr. Lewis. Discussion on team camps for the next year. No discussion. All right, I have a motion and a second to approve the high school students attending team camps during the summer that require overnight travel and stay throughout the state of Missouri from July 2015 through June 2016. Those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. 6-0, thank you. Okay, next we have the lunch price increase. You see those there before yourself.
We did this last year too.
And do I have a motion to approve the increase for school lunch prices as presented for 2015-16 to meet the requirement of Section 205 of the Healthy, Hunger-Free Kids Act of 2010?
So moved.
Mrs. Petrie, second. Mr. McCarthy. Discussion on the lunch price increases.
Oh, that's not too bad.
Hearing no discussion. I have a motion and a second to approve the increase for school lunch prices as presented for 2015-16 to meet the requirement of Section 205 of the Healthy, Hunger-Free Kids Act of 2010. Those in favor, please raise your hand. 6-0. Thank you very much. Okay, next we have the milk bid for 2015-16. Do I have a motion to approve the recommended Prairie Farms bid for 2015-16?
So moved.
Mrs. Petrie. Mr. McCarthy, second. Any discussion on the milk price firm bid? Yes,
There
ma'am.
was only one bid.
I had another one from Coal Wholesale. The Prairie Farms delivers 3 days a week. With Coal Wholesale, deliver 2 days a week, and they deliver sometimes at lunchtime. And Prairie Farms delivers in the morning before breakfast.
So it
We
wasn't
always have
comparable.
fresh. Yeah.
Well, that was my question with only
Yeah.
one bid. But last year we bought like 3.
Not no.
Oh. Okay.
Any other discussion on the milk bid? Hearing none, I have a motion and a second to approve the recommended Prairie Farms bid for 2015-16. Those in favor, raise your hand. 6-0, thank you. Okay, next we have the DESI food service application. Do I have a motion to approve the DESI school food service application agreement so we can continue to receive funding for the National School Lunch Program? Mr. Lewis.
There you go. Other side.
Mrs. Welker.
Kind of moving around.
Yeah.
Okay. Discussion on the DESI food service application. Hearing none. I have a motion, a second, to approve the DESI school food service application agreement so we can continue to receive funding for the National School Lunch Program. Those in favor? 6-0. Thank you. All right, next we have the Board of Education meeting dates for 2015-16. Do I have a motion to approve the 2015-16 Board of Education meeting dates as presented?
Motion. Second.
Mr. Lewis, second. Mr. Stevens. Discussion on the meeting dates. Ms.
Question or
Petrie.
comment. This year, we moved the election, the meeting after the election, I know because you were out of town, but was that a better date for administration versus the week right after?
No, we were rushed, but I mean, I think we put it together.
You got to do it
We
within
got
2
to do
weeks.
2 weeks,
Well, yeah.
10 business days.
Right, and that's what was my question, like this is back to the 14th, I believe, versus, you know, a little bit later. So,
When,
I
let's
think
take a
the
look when the
election's on
election
the
is.
7th. Or excuse me, it's on a Tuesday, so that's the 4th. Isn't that right?
this is the week after. And that was my question, is that this week we moved it, and was that better for administration to have it the 2 weeks after instead of just the immediate week after?
Well, that does put it on a Thursday, where if we moved it to the next week, it's a Tuesday.
Which would be the last day.
Yeah, it changes the meeting night, but
I mean, I
yeah,
was just throwing that out there. Makes no difference to me
okay.
at all.
And if we need to change it,
We will
when
later.
it comes closer, we can, you know, if something pops up, we need to change it, we can change it then. These would be the tentative
John
dates.
plans another trip.
I already put them on my phone, so.
All right.
You're ahead of me then, I didn't do that.
Resign, stay on board over here.
I had to plan my trip for next year after board.
Any other discussion on the meeting dates? Hearing none, I have a motion and a second to approve the 2015-16 Board of Education meeting dates as presented. Those in favor? 6-0. Thank you. Next, we have the PD plan. Do I have a motion to approve the PD plan as presented? Mr. Stevenson? Do I have a second? Mrs. Welker, thank you. Discussion on the PD plan.
Look good to me.
Good to you? Okay.
Add 20 more hours for teachers' work time.
Hearing no discussion, I have a motion and a second to approve the PD plan as presented. Those in favor signify by raising your hand. Thank you. 6-0. Okay, next we have the final reading of policy BBFA. Do I have a motion to approve the revisions in policy BBFA as presented?
I make a motion.
Mr. Lewis, do I have a second? I will second so we can have some discussion. Yep. Discussion on BBFA.
Okay. First of all, I understand our policy to say there's supposed to be 3 readings.
There are 3 considerations, and this is
And
policy BF?
Right.
Okay, policy BF
And the first one
is an informal line.
was last time, was the first time it actually came to the board, was last May 22nd or whenever we met. And so this should be the second reading
We didn't have it.
of discussion.
Oh, she's having computer issues.
Because the policy committee received the email from Dr. Corman the first part of May,
Okay.
is my
Would
recollection.
have been April.
Unless we had some, they put it in account. I know we've had a couple meetings here and there in between for special reasons, but
No, policy should always be open session.
Right,
So-
right, right. But some of those were.
We didn't.
Because we have 2 policies in.
In fact, at the last meeting, John, you made that point, that there would be 3
So we
readings.
just didn't clarify.
May.
Okay.
May was the first.
So this is second reading, so July would be the one.
But the first one is not, it's a consideration, it's an informal item, it's not a read.
Which was the first time before the board, though. Because I only saw it at the earlier part of May because I'm on policy committee. So the board only saw it last time, and we did discuss it further because I asked questions. Sorry. So technically.
But I mean, you understand the, you know, the informal item and then there's
Yes.
a read. So there's really like two readings where it's officially on the agenda, not just an informational item.
Which this is the
Right.
second time it's on the agenda.
I will
And,
defer to our record keeper
okay,
here.
well,
and we will-
and while she's looking that up, I
Yeah.
did have a couple of people ask me for some of the information that I was sharing last meeting, and so I just kind of put together, the teacher and me, a little handout, because we did get the other nepotism policies from MSBA, but on this, I have the old Hillsboro policy, the DeSoto policy that was taken from their manual, Lindbergh's policy that was taken from the Lindbergh's website. There's one in there for everybody. MSBA policy. Fox has instituted one, however, they are not members of MSBA, and I could not maneuver through their online policy to find it. So what I put here for Fox was taken from the St. Louis Post. I put where it is coming from. And then the other stuff is just the accumulation of all of those things going in there. So just for points of information.
Okay, so Beth Ann just confirmed that you are correct. So we would need, didn't mean that to sound.
I know.
I'm bringing it. I'm just stating a fact.
Okay.
So,
I haven't.
so this would be the first read, but the second consideration.
This is our major discussion.
Right.
And we're
So, before we do any further discussion, I will need, because it's not the final read, the motion is on the final read, I will need Mr. Lewis and myself. Are you willing to amend it to the first read, second consideration? Right. Yes, and as am I. So, now, discussion on BDFA. Knowing that we're going to have a public hearing on the 15th of July.
Hearing.
Right.
You know, personally, I would like to know how the other board members kind of feel about this. I mean, I know that we are, you know, going to talk about it, we're going to have a public session, and then finalize it later. But where are the rest? Where is everybody as far as, I look at this as having 4 onion peels. One is the school board per se, one is central administration, one is administration, and one is supervisor situation. If you've read some of those policies that MSBA gave to Dr. Corman, there's many schools that have the supervisory. In fact, I kind of pulled those out. You know, from what I researched and what MSBA gave us, there were actually 3 of those school districts that had full-blown school board nepotism. There were 4 that included central administration in some level. There were 2 that included building administrators, and there were 6 of them that actually had some type of supervisory clause. So, info, questions, comments?
Well, I agree with the supervisory clause.
The supervisory?
Because we don't have anything like that, really.
You're correct. And that was, refresh my memory, that's, so I'm looking through there, it's well, the one I'm looking at is let's see, what district is that? Not Belton, it's, got a mark here, Harrison Cass, R9, where they've got,
Belton has one.
they've got supervisory relative within the first degree.
Yeah.
So then do you, because, you know, the overall is like 4 degrees for board members on considering. So, but that's pretty broad when you get down to a supervisor level. So then do you make that first degree, which would then be a parent, spouse, child, which includes in-law.
Right.
Sibling, I guess is one, first degree.
So Lisa, is that the only one that you are thinking is important?
No. I think we need to put things basically the way we had them. But
So, central.
yes. But I think it's also important to hear from
Definitely.
public to get their overall feelings so that we can align things and balance it, I guess, because that's going to be tricky.
Right. Because I agree with John when you know, there's a big difference between 4th degree and, you know, 1st and 2nd degree. That some of these other school districts are doing 1st or 2nd degree with the level positions versus the board being 4th. John, what's your thought process?
I think a lot, you don't hear it all, but what do you have? I think, yeah, I think we, you know, we listen to the public. Again, I think it's like in teacher negotiations we were talking about, it's the minority that show up and get involved. I mean, we had 10, 12 people tonight, you know. I know we want to get it out there, but what 20 or 30 people is going to show up, you know?
Right.
And is that the majority? Is that how they feel? Remember the 91% rule? And to me, you're not hearing the 100% rule. I mean, you're hearing the small parts. I mean, you're kind of just, depending on who you go, who comes out to vote or who comes out to talk, you know. As far as the policies, I think, you know, it's touchy. I mean, I don't think we purposely did anything in the past to have any special interest, but I do, reading some of the stuff, and I've talked to, you know, executive where I think it's not right, you know, some of the voting policies. I think, you know, we're a rural area. It's not like we're St. Louis and we can get non-family. I mean, this is the largest employer in town, you know. I mean, for instance, we went, Mr. Engelbach and I went down to interview him. His wife was already working with him. You know, I know that's their school district. We didn't think it was a problem. We talked to the board. They didn't think it was a problem. It became a problem, you know.
Because of Hillsboro's history. More so.
So, I mean, going back on that, you know, we got to start somewhere. So let's hear what they say and we'll adjust it accordingly.
Okay. I feel like I was the one who asked the question. I'm sorry.
Yeah, okay, no problem. It all comes down to influence hiring. And if there's influence involved, that should be the thing to me. Otherwise, yeah, we are a community that has a lot of people that come in. I don't want to say retreads, but they come back. People come back. If they're hired in, you know. But who's to say that a relative might, because I know the relative was here, something happened, but, you know, that goes on. There's more cases than one of that, so I would just say that's pretty much business, you know, business as usual. But I think it's the influence. If influence is involved, you know, it makes it a different story, you know, regardless of statute and everything else. You can do all the legalisms and stuff like that, but we just have to be a little bit above board. Be careful what we do.
I'll kind of just expand a little bit on what Dan just said. You know, it's the influence. There doesn't have to be anything billboard, untoward, whatever you want to say going on. Everything might be in the open up. But if there's no policy there guiding that specter, so to speak, will always be there. That specter of people thinking, oh, well, they got the job because of so-and-so, or this happened because of so-and-so. That's what we have to be careful of. That's what we have to watch out for. That's my thoughts. You know, everything might be on perfectly fine, but we have to make sure that little bit of doubt has no chance to creep in, because when that does, everything falls apart.
No, I, having been here whenever those were changed a year ago, I know we had a conflict between policies. And it was easier to change one than it was to change three. Because we were already having issues with policy, you know, being behind and all that. So I agree with John, I don't think we did anything for impure motives. But I don't disagree that we need to do something and have some sort of boundaries in place. And I mean, looking through those different policies, you know, they range from
Yeah, they do.
nobody, you know, like what Limber's was, somebody gets on the board, the person leaves the next year. You know, the employee leaves the next year. And I think that's a little extreme, especially being in Hillsboro. It's just.
It did happen here, though.
Pardon?
Mr. Woodland.
What? Yep. But that was his son too, though. That was first degree.
Yeah.
You know, so. But I definitely think we need to have some boundaries. But I think listen to the public, we'll figure out through discussion where everybody's comfortable, where those boundaries are, and we set those, and we have to address them in all the policies that are affected, and make sure that they coincide so that we don't have policies pointing in opposite directions, which could cause problems in itself.
Well, and I didn't know what policies they were, and last week or last month you said GCD and GDC, and when I went back and pulled those up, it appeared to be only like a paragraph that referred to, like, okay, if a school board spouse was going to be hired, then these are the precautions to take, you know, the steps to take. So to me, it looked like it was going to be a simple of deleting that paragraph if we went back to adding a nepotism. So, you know, I agree, there needs to be more work to come.
Now, having been through that discussion, since this is the first read on this, the second consideration, and we've got to, regardless of what we decide with nepotism, and I think it's going to take longer than, I mean, we're going to have the hearing on July the 15th, and then we're going to have some discussion and hammer something out, what we're comfortable as a board doing, what we think is right, and what we think needs to happen. So I anticipate that's going to be at least August,
right,
if not later. But we need to, as presented, I think we can always add that language.
Right.
But we need to have a conflict of interest and financial disclosure to the state. And I'd rather do it sooner rather than later, because you never know what happens, is just my point. And we can make an adjustment after. So what is everybody's thoughts on what is presented here as the conflict of interest and financial disclosure regarding board members in this policy?
When I read that, my understanding was it was going to be a change that all of us, no matter whether we were doing it in the business, etc., all of us would file that report. Is that true?
Yes.
Okay, so you probably already
The directors, the officers have to. But now it's saying everybody.
Everybody, so not a big deal, is it?
No.
No, especially for us retired.
Hey, you can do it online if it works.
It works. I did it twice and it didn't work. They yelled at me and it didn't work.
You know, that's my thought. When I read through the rest of it, I thought, well, this is, it's just a change that all of us would do that instead of just the big wigs.
Right. Well, Mrs. Ginge and I both filled it out as well. And then.
Not a big deal.
Yeah, it's not a big deal. It's actually about 5 minutes.
Okay, I can do
All right. So, since that's the first read, we really don't need a vote or anything. That's what we do, since we've already got a motion second, we don't have to, we just. Okay. All right, so we've got a motion and a second to approve the first read, second consideration of policy BBFA as presented. Those in favor, signify by raising your hand. 6-0. Thank you. There's a commentary that we will be adjusting as warranted based on public participation and feedback received July 15th and our discussion thereafter. All right, next we have. It is? Okay. Okay. Do I have a motion to approve the revisions of policies GBCBC, GCBDA, and GDBDA, and rescind policy GDBE?
We're rescinding the last one.
Yes. Was that a first?
I would like to pull GCBDA before we approve, so we can discuss it.
So we have to suspend your guys? Okay. Okay.
Is it still a
Are you wanting to
policy?
vote it separately?
Well, what we have in our packet is still not what we talked about.
In discussion.
Correct. It still says 4
Okay.
over
Yeah.
4.
So do we want to suspend and pull that one separately, or talk about them all together?
Well, I don't care how you do it. I just,
Okay.
the
Would
change
you like
is not
to-
in here.
We can discuss it.
Okay, we need to discuss the change.
Okay.
So moved, whatever
So
you
moved.
said is
So
good.
I have a motion
What's discussion?
to approve.
GCBDA.
I need a second.
Second.
Second, Mrs. Welker. So we have a motion and a second. So GCBDA, Mrs. Petrie. Is that the correct one?
That is the correct one, GCBDA.
The
Is
GCBDA.
it page 6?
And we're talking page
Number
6.
2?
Yes.
And it was supposed to say what? What did we
Okay,
say?
when we met with the committee, it was supposed to, the committee recommended 4 or more consecutive days instead of extending over 4.
So it shouldn't read when extends over 4?
Right, it should be 4.
That's what it says.
It doesn't want the words extends over.
Oh.
Right, it doesn't go
4
over.
or more
It's 4 or more is what the committee.
instead of over 4. Difference in the day.
So,
And where is it inserted after the word vacation, before the word to in the second line?
I have this figured out. Where did I have that figured out exactly? A written request for an extended vacation of 4 or more consecutive days to the superintendent.
Okay. So we just need to remove the word when, extends over, and start with the numeric 4 after the word vacation.
Of 4 or more. So that gives the right to give 4 days, Thursday, Friday, Monday, Tuesday, but not Thursday, Friday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, not 5 days, without going through.
Okay.
It's that word over.
Yeah, it's the word over, yeah.
Okay.
Unless you want to make it less. But the committee recommended 4. The committee negotiated compromise to 4. What? John, you're talking about me underneath your breath.
No, I'm fine.
No, I'm not.
He
No, I'm with you.
He was aggravating me.
Dan's gonna trade places with you, then you'll be in trouble.
Any discussion on any, further on that policy or any of the others? So with that adjustment,
Correct.
and Beth Ann's got that noted. No other discussion on the policy? Okay, hearing none, I have a motion and a second to approve the revisions, including that, of policies GBCBC, GCBDA, and GDBDA, and rescind policy GDBE. Those in favor signify by raising your hand. 6-0, motion passes. Thank you.
The MSBA to give them different titles.
I don't know. Okay, next we have the final reading of the CSIP. So do I have a motion to approve the Comprehensive School Improvement Plan as presented?
So moved.
Mrs. Welker, second. Mr. McCarthy, do we have discussion?
Got my hard copy, huh?
I would like to say, and I know there's some people in the room that sat on that committee, and I know there was, what was there, 10, 12?
There was a lot.
Lots of meetings and lots of time spent, and I know that's not easy, and that's a lot of stuff to work through, and I just want to extend my thanks, and I'm sure the rest of the board is, for your hard and diligent work on revising the CSIP plan, and thank you for doing that.
I appreciate the co-chairs over there and their work. And Dr. Tooley, she's not here this evening, but she helped coordinate all the mass emails.
Okay, hearing no discussion on that, I have a motion and a second to approve the Comprehensive School Improvement Plan as presented. Those in favor signify by raising your hand. Dan, is that a yes or a no?
He was talking.
6-0.
I go vote for you.
I won't.
I couldn't find
Stop
it.
distracting.
Yes, yes.
Thank you. All right. There were several items that the principals have been given to revise in the student handbooks to be consistent. Does the board, would they be willing to approve the handbooks contingent upon the administration making those changes, or do we want to have those come back for another reading?
Don't they need to go so that you can?
Yes.
Yeah.
That would be the concern.
So that's my question.
Okay, that's my answer.
I'll make the motion so that we can talk about it.
Would the motion be to approve?
Approve so that they can.
Okay.
Changes.
So I have a motion to approve the student handbooks with the understanding contingent upon the administration making the changes that have been sent. So, motion, Mr. Lewis, is there a second? Mr. Erickson, second. Discussion. Mr. Erickson. Mr. Stevenson. I'm going to get that right when I've only known this since, yeah. I'm sorry. You call me Mr. Johnson. I'll anticipate. I get called a lot of Stuart Johnson. Okay, discussion. Mr. Stevenson. I'm good. No, you're good. Okay. I just got to repeat your name over and over.
I just had a comment. I did send some concerns, and those were just kind of thoughts, so take with them as you wish. But one thing under the weather dismissal, on March the 4th, when we were pulled out of school that day, the TV channels did not, none of them, 2, 4, 5, or 30, did not report that school closing. And I know it's in there. And being of the old school, the only reason I knew that we were out of school was because I saw the kids go up the hill, and so I had to kind of, it was nowhere except for probably on Twitter, and I don't do Twitter, I'm sorry. But I did.
Was it a full day out? Was it a half day out?
It was a call day.
So we were in school trying to get out?
Yes, it was a call day. And I did finally find it on the website to verify that, okay, you know, school is out, but, you know, there are probably people like me in the community that, and my husband does a really good job of searching the channels to make sure.
Okay.
So that was a concern.
Well, but normally they get a phone call too.
But I was watching kids, and there's people like me that aren't on the robocall, you know, so,
You don't get the same ones we get?
no,
She doesn't have kids in
I don't have,
But she can get it.
well, I can, but I don't care. Except for that day, I care.
That day, it's that day.
I know.
So I'm looking forward to that one
Right.
day.
But-
So of the 13 or 40 school days I
That's
called
right.
off, I missed
But
1.5
it
days.
wasn't a complaint, it was
Oh.
just, you know, I'd be sure that I know with technology, Twitter and all that, Instagram, all of those things are, but there's still people like me.
Hey, I get it.
That,
Right. You know,
Caregivers.
we're loading the buses and snowing on the
That's
road and
right.
worried about kids, and I'm tweeting and robocalling, and hey, we'll do a better job.
Well,
I mean,
it was just-
it's hard to stop when I'm at the high school loading buses to
and I
call
comprehend
call
it,
those people. So
but it was like, because I had to do some fast food.
yeah, I got to call every channel and enter
Right.
3 codes to close school for each channel, and they're not all the same.
And if I just gotten one, that's all I need.
Okay, that's what channel do you block?
I don't care.
I'll make sure it is.
Channel serves all of them.
Okay, so I'll just pick one I like and I'll zip it on there. Not PBS though, you're out of luck, or
For
Discovery
30
Channel.
years, he's been doing it since 4 a.m. in the morning. But
Any other
just don't overlook the channels.
Any other discussion on the
I'll call you.
handbooks?
I'll call you.
If I don't have kids, I don't care. But
Hearing no other discussion on the handbooks, those, I have a motion and a second to approve the revised student handbooks contingent upon the administration making the changes noted. Those in favor, please raise your hand. 6-0. Motion passes.
When we talked about this before, you said you were going to go pick them up. You weren't really going to pick them up yourself. Like on.
These are different.
Huh?
I'm going after the student planners that are in Sedalia. I'm driving over and picking those up.
Oh, this information goes
These
in
are
the
printed.
planners.
These are being,
Doesn't this information go in the planners?
Usually.
Yeah.
It's cheaper, it has become cheaper not to include them in the planners, and we print them.
Oh,
ourselves.
really? Okay, because I thought, all right.
Okay.
so that's, the Sedalia pickup is the planners. This is, they're having to make the changes in print.
But if you go on school time, that kind of pricey more than paying you to go get them versus.
I'd much rather me go pick them up and get back and go early in the morning than having them shipped here and cost us money or paying race people to go get them when I need them here cleaning floors. So I'll just go pick them up.
Moving along. That's okay. Program evaluations, we have the complaint and grievance program evaluation before you. Do I have a motion to approve the program evaluation as presented? Mr. Stevenson, is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Lewis, discussion on the program evaluation for complaints and grievances. Hearing none, I have a motion and a second to approve the program evaluation for complaints and grievances as presented. Those in favor, raise your hand. 6-0, thank you. Motion passes. Okay, next we have the approval of a bus purchase. We have before us a recommendation approving the bid for Midwest Transit Incorporated for two 2016 Model 77 passenger international CE buses, full AC, optional for $181,000. Wait. Okay, I'm sorry. Looked the wrong one. Okay. Yeah, it's got that there. Okay, so the recommendation, I'll entertain a motion to approve the bid from Midwest Transit for two 2016 model buses for $161,642.
So
Motion. Ms. Petrie. Second, Mr. Stevenson. Discussion on the purchase of the buses.
So, yeah, I have a few here.
Yep.
Just read one of the descriptions, what's a standard route bus Does that mean anything special versus a non-standard route bus? Was
Trip bus and then standard route bus.
okay.
You want to speak to that just a little bit? Your trip buses versus your standard route buses?
Mr. Stevenson, did I note in here, was it noted that maybe one of the buses was a standard route bus?
Yeah,
Something?
yeah,
Okay.
Central States bus.
Yeah.
I just didn't know what that meant, I'm sorry.
Well, we, in the past, Director Lewis, and he's helped out before. We've been able to buy some demo buses, which were spec'd out as trip buses. And what I try to do for the board members is, like, the Central States bus was a demo dealer. Was it the Midwest Bus Sales standard route bus?
No, it was a Central States.
Oh, the Central States, okay. Anyway, the difference there is usually about $6,000 or $7,000 difference in options is what it is. And what I propose to for the school district to purchase is two, kind of use the term loaded up, decked out. And then I'm asking that we put two full AC systems on there. And what that'll do, that'll have them equipped as good as our fancy trip bus we bought 3 years ago. That'll have them right there spec for spec with that. And actually at about $2,000 cheaper than what we bought that bus for. And Midwest Transit was putting them systems on, I believe it was $8,700, and that is right at their cost. I mean, that was kind of a gift. They said, hey, if you guys want to put the AC systems, we're going to put them on at our cost. And they're not making one dime off that.
Is there any difference between the three as far as, and I see there's 200, 220, 260 horsepower?
Yeah,
gas consumption, fuel consumption between those three?
Yeah, what we're doing now, we're just specking out Cummins engines.
Okay.
And luckily, International, as of last year, were able to sell the Cummins engine in their bus. There have been some issues with the International engines, not only with us, but with some others. And with that opened the door. Our whole fleet's pretty much International, but now then we're getting the motor that I want, and the mechanics want. And the fuel economy there is, you can't beat it. I mean, I'm not bragging, but the truck I bought to retire with on the farm 2 years ago has got a Cummins engine in it. That's all I'm going to say. And I hope I never have to touch it. So, anyway, there's thousands of them running around here in Jefferson County alone. But these particular units, they are loaded up pretty hard. The bus we bought last year, it's out on that one's at the Brickyard subdivision. We've not touched that bus in 16,000 miles. It's an International, one of the first Cummins they put in. We have literally just changed the oil on that bus and washed it, and that's it. And that sold me on.
How did we do on the trade-in? You remember we had the company that had a private transit company wanted to buy one of our buses.
Right, yes, sir.
But we have the policy that says surplus property will go through the auction. Well, he was going to offer more money than what the auction would bring. So we had, did you wind up talking
Yes, sir.
to
Yes,
their?
I did.
Okay.
Kenny Pierce, he said, hey, he goes, let me make a call to Steve, that's his boss. He called me back in 5 minutes. He said, hey, that's not a problem. And they actually knew the individual that.
So we're able to get more out of the trade-in. He was
Yes,
going to give us a couple thousand more than what they were offering for trade-in, right?
And then Kenny, he stepped up and said, yeah, they've dealt with John before there at Fredericktown, and they said, that's not a problem.
Okay, so that worked for us that time.
Yeah, same Kenny. They offered us the same, the $38.50.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any other questions on the bus purchase?
I do, not a question or just a comment, Ronnie. I think you do a great job, and every recommendation we've had has worked out. I was told, I don't know if we have any that have been bought partially or fully on a grant. Do you know?
Yes, Bus 70. Mrs. Rain had helped us. She wrote a grant about 5 years ago for the bus. And then the only other equipment.
The only reason I say it is because I don't know if it's DeSoto, but recently it was brought to my attention that they have to be destroyed. You can't trade them in, you can't resell them. Right. I just wanted to make sure figured you knew that.
Is he talking about the grant for the retrofit?
Yeah, what Clint and Central States had worked out, they've got a, well, I'm sorry, Doc, no, not on the heater systems, that's what you was referring to, was retrofitting on the heaters.
Well, I thought it was retrofitting on the fuel, some type of fuel cylinder system that went into those buses to help them burn more efficiently.
Yeah, that was part of that
So almost-
preheater
sure.
system. Yeah, now, to answer Doc's question there, we'll be keeping the preheater system on this $16,000 trade-in bus. This $3,850 one, we didn't put one on that. We'd actually had put that on a newer bus that had come in that year. But,
I'm just saying previously, before our time, have we purchased a bus through a grant?
No, we have not purchased one that would have to be, that caused the trade-in to be destroyed.
Okay.
And
I just want to make sure the trade-ins that we are trading in are the ones we previously, wasn't ones that were supposed to be destroyed.
Right.
We can find.
Yeah, we're okay there.
Any other discussion on the bus purchase? Hearing none. Those in, huh?
Got a motion second. Beth Petrie and Eric Sears.
So I have a motion and a second to approve the bid of Midwest Transit Incorporated for two 2016 model buses for $161,642. All those in favor? Motion passes 6-0. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Item number S, letter S, MOUs, is not going to need any action at this point because we've got still to discuss that in executive session. So moving on to item T, first read of faculty handbooks. It's the first read, so there's no action necessary, but we can discuss questions on the faculty handbooks. Discussion. There's no action. There's just discussion.
Very good, thank you.
Okay. All right. Moving along. First read on the substitute handbook. Again, it's just the first read, so no actions are necessary. Is there any questions on the substitute handbook? Hearing none, we'll move along to V on the new teacher handbook. First read. Again, no action necessary. Questions? Discussion. Sounds like we're going to talk about it next month. Okay. Moving on to the first read on the athletic student handbook. Again, no action necessary. Questions? Discussion on the student handbook? Not yet. Okay. First read on the athletic coaches handbook. Same thing. Okay, moving along. Y, permission to seek bids for smart boards. Do I have a motion to give permission to seek bids for the 15 to 25 smart board? Is that for 15 to 25 smart boards for the elementary, intermediate, and primary buildings?
So moved.
Mrs. Petrie, second, Mr. Stevenson. Discussion on seeking bids for smart boards. How old are these ones now, Mr. Murray?
Excuse me?
How old are these smart boards now?
How old?
Yeah.
These are new installs.
Right. Oh, so it's not replacements?
It's not replacements.
Oh, okay.
No,
Gotcha,
this is
gotcha,
new
gotcha.
installs.
Lots of rooms that don't have.
I'm proud to say that all the smart boards we've bought, I think we've only had one damaged in like 15 years I've been there.
Fantastic.
So,
Fantastic. Any other questions or discussion? Okay, I have a motion and a second to give permission to seek bids for 15 to 25 smart boards for the elementary, intermediate, and primary. All those in favor signify by raising your hand. 6-0, motion passes. Thank you. Next, do I have a motion to give permission to seek bids for 300 Chromebooks for the junior high?
So moved.
Mrs. Welker first, second. Mrs. Petrie, was it you? Okay. Second. Discussion on seeking bids for 300 Chromebooks at the junior high.
It's been included in part of the building plans if you read the budget.
And Heath, I'm assuming that that worked out well, because weren't you the one that did the cart with Chromebooks as a trial that other people were kind of watching to see if they worked? So it worked well.
Any other discussion? Okay, I have a motion and a second to give permission to seek bids for 300 Chromebooks for our junior high school. All those in favor? 6-0, motion passes. Thank you. Next is the approval of additional security, approval of purchase for additional security camera DVR unit at the high school. Do I have a motion to approve the purchase from Midwest Digital Systems for security DVR unit and additional security CCTV cameras for the primary, elementary, and intermediate schools for $18,326? Mr. McCarthy first. Do I have a second?
Second.
Mr. Lewis. Discussion on the purchase of the DVR units.
So this is additional, another one versus what we had done before?
That's wrong.
Oh.
I think I must have sent the wrong form. The total is a little over 5,000. It's not 18,000.
Oh, and that makes a big difference.
What you're looking at, what you approved back in the spring.
I thought maybe
We're replacing the
lots.
second DVR that I told you about last spring.
This is just one at the high school.
Correct. Correct. It's going at the high school. And this is replacing DVR units that were originally installed back in, I believe, 2006. So,
Okay.
I'm sorry, that is all my fault. That is not the right total.
Okay. I'd like somebody to make that mistake on myself.
So we redoing your.
Yeah. So
you got to redo your.
And that will be covered in the regular security budget that we have.
Okay. Okay.
So,
do you know what the cost is, Mr. Murray?
bear with me a second.
I have a question regarding security. I know each school has it, and does Mr. Murray or do you have access at the administration office or his offices where you can pull up?
We have off-site, you mean can we access off-site camera system?
We can do off-site as far as like at the data center, not off campus. That's something we've talked about, but there's a little more involved in doing off campus. I did visit with Midwest Systems about this, and they recommended that we look at doing the app that you can install on your phone.
But you can also give the police officers, if they come to the building, access to the cameras.
The complication that comes into play is when you're on campus, you're using the campus network. When you're off campus, that's a totally different way of connecting. So the process of going back and forth is where it gets tricky. So that's where it's not as simple as you might think it would be, if that makes sense. Because what's publicly available with our network is not the same as when.
No, I don't mean publicly. I'm saying administrators, you, Dr. Even the principals from maybe they're at a meeting in Jeff City.
Right.
Can they access their school building?
With this app, you should be able to do that, yes.
If something would happen when they're not there, not like 24 hours a day, private eye or nothing.
That's something that we're going to check into whenever they come back to other DVR at the high school.
I don't know how you don't.
You got the number, sir? Sorry, didn't mean to divert you.
I don't get that.
So so when we get this number from Mr. Murray, which is going to be around 5,000, I understand, Dan, you can find them in your motion.
Well, it should be on campus.
Dan, you're first.
Yep, you made the first.
Yeah.
And then, Mr. Lewis, are you okay amending your second to
$5,998?
To $5,998.
Look at all the money you just saved.
Exactly, and that is, I'm going to read this as amended, but it would be a motion to approve the purchase from Midwest Digital Systems for one security DVR unit at the high school.
Correct.
For $5,998. That's
correct.
You agree, sir?
And that unit is replacing the two older DVR units. And the new one unit can actually outperform those two combined. So this gets us all current across the buildings with the same kind of interface for monitoring our camera systems and such.
Fantastic. Any other questions or discussion? Nope. Okay, I have a motion second to approve the purchase from Midwest Digital Systems for a security DVR unit at the high school for $5,998. All those in favor, please raise your hand. Mrs. Petrie? Okay, you can vote no if you want.
No, I wasn't.
6-0, motion
I was
passes.
reading.
Thank you. All right, next is the purchase approval for SAN server for our, what is DR site?
Data recovery.
Okay, disaster recovery site at the intermediate. Do I have a motion to approve the purchase of a Cybernetics 1000 district level SAN, which is storage area network server for our disaster recovery site at the intermediate from Provision Data Solutions for $8,800? Mr. Stevenson?
Second.
Mrs. Petrie, second. Discussion on the SAN server.
It's a backup in case the system goes off.
Which is a good thing.
Yes, it is. And we all like that.
Yeah. Hearing no further discussion, I have a motion and a second to approve the purchase of a Cybernetics 1000 district level SAN server for our district recovery site from Provision Data Solutions for $8,800. All those in favor, please raise your hand. Motion passes 6-0. All right, I will entertain a motion to recess open session. Mr. McCarthy and Mrs. Petrie, second. All those in favor of recessing? 6-0. And we will, it is 8:36. We will recess. And we will, at 8:45, so you got 9 minutes this time. We will re-adjourn executive session at 8:45. Thank you.